Hello again. Today we're going to tie this wiggle tail or dragon tail perch fly. This is just something I kind of concocted just for a bit of fun really, but actually it's turned out to be a really good perch fly. It fishes this way up, hook point up, and it fishes, if we can move this in the vise, kind of like at that angle. We'll move this tail up here. And you can, the hook's actually a bent streamer hook. It's by Arex and it's a TP 650 and it's got a 26-degree bend. You can see that in the packet. Although I have tweaked it a little bit to increase the angle so it fishes exactly like it is now on the vise, just sort of bouncing off the bottom. Really jiggy. Perch really like this fly. I'll explain all the materials as I go. Just going to take that one out of the vise. The tail is one of these funny little wiggly dragon tails. They're by Veniards, and they're called Magnum dragon tails, and this is a size small. I bought these because I thought they looked interesting, and they really remind me of a funny little toy that we used to have as kids that used to play with on the end of a stick, and it was like a wiggly worm or a snake or something that we used to use as, used to play with as kids. And I thought, well, that looks fairly interesting. Let's see what happens if I tie a fly with it. And as it happens, it turned out to be a really good perch fly. So I'll explain the rest of the materials as I go along. Before I do anything, I just need to prep these tails. They are a chenille, so to stop them falling apart, because we are going to be fishing with them for predators, I just take a lighter and I kind of singe the end. Just try not to set fire to it, but just singe the end, just like that, stop it all coming apart. And then to add to that, I just take some super glue and I brush some super glue on the end of the tail, just like that. You can't really overdo it. I let the super glue sink right into the tail, and this it stiffens up the end of the tail, I found, and makes it move even more. But actually I do it because it stops these things coming apart. So that done, we're going to put the hook in the vise. Like I said, it's an Arex TP 650. I'm just going to lock that vise off like that. Thread is a UTC Ultra and it's in chartreuse. And I'm just going to put a tiny bit of glue on the shank. I always do this when I'm making flies for predators or toothy critters, and I have had jack pike on this fly as well, so a little bit of glue on the shank just helps everything stay together. Now I'm going to come down past the point, but not as far as the barb, so just past the point. You can see that there is a couple of millimeters. I'm actually going to come back a couple of turns, so it's literally a mil past. Now I'm going to take our wiggle tail, and I want him to be, where's my ruler? I want him to be, I mark it on the end of my vise here, but I like these to be about 3 or 4 inches. So what I do, I haven't got my ruler, but I've got a tape measure. So if I take the tape measure there, past where the tail's going to start, it's about here. It's about 3.5 inch total length of fly, something like that. I mean, I do it all by eye, but somewhere around there, maybe a little bit longer. I'm just going to catch the tail on, and I catch this on the top of the hook like that. I'm going to do a couple of nice tight turns, make sure it's sat right on top, which it is, and then in open spirals I'm going to come up a little ways, and then I'm going to pick some of this off like I would any other chenille. And you can see it's just, you can see the string, so you can see it's like any other chenille, and this just keeps the body nice and tight. Going to try and keep that on the top, tie it down. I'm going to fold the string back, tie it back, and then snip off the waist. And I mean, it's never coming off. So nice and tight. We're going to bring our thread back to the start of the tail, which is there. And now I'm going to put on some bucktail, and the bucktail is just literally there to stop tail wrap. Okay, so what can happen if you're a bit of a spanner like me and you like to miscast every now and then just for the fun of it, the tail can do this, and it just doesn't fish right. So the first ones I tied of these, actually, I didn't put any bucktail at all, and I found I was getting quite a bit of tail wrap, especially when it was windy. I'm basically making excuses for my bad casting here, aren't I? But I found with the addition of some bucktail, we can literally lessen the chances of tail wrap by quite a lot, actually. So I only want the bucktail to come back a little tiny ways. It's just basically making a cage, and I'll normally do this in 2 bits. I'll do a bit on the top of the shank, which is basically going to be the bottom of the fly, and then I'll do a bit on the top. So I'm going to push that, do a couple of turns, and then using my finger and the nail, excuse the plaster on my finger, I had something, basically I lifted a nail and it looks horrible, so I thought I'd just cover it up. Something went up into my nail. I think it was a blackthorn. Not good. So we just spread this bucktail around like that. I'm just going to pull tight. Okay. So and keep it coming round. And then we're going to do a little tiny bit on what will be the top of the shank. Not much. You literally don't need much. It's literally just there to stop that tail wrapping, and it'll just save you a lot of wasted casts. So the last perch I had on this fly was a lovely 2.3 fish. I might, if I can, I'm no good at editing, but if I can, I'll put a picture of that fish up. This is the last fish I caught on this fly, which was the other day, which was really strange because I'd actually been fishing with bait for a good few hours, or cheating, as I like to call it. So I'd actually been fishing with bait for a good few hours, and I'd not even a touch. And to be honest with you, I got bored. So I thought, you know what? Let's go and pick up a fly rod. Let's come back and see if I can tempt these perch on a fly rod. And literally, first cast with this fly over where I'd been fishing bait. Bang. Absolutely nailed it. I'm just going to move the hook in the vise. I'm just going to try and tidy everything up there. Don't worry that it all looks a complete mess on the shank here. It's all going to get covered up. It's all going to get tidied up. I just want to make sure that this bucktail is everywhere that I want it to be. And as you can see, I can't, it's really hard. The bucktail, see it's bringing it back. So there we go. Right. Now I'm just gonna, move that hook again. I'm just gonna add a bit of glue onto these thread wraps just to seal everything in there. We are fishing for predators, exactly the same with my pike flies and my bass flies. if I'm fishing for predators, I will always put a bit of glue. Now we're going to take some Mirage Flash Boot, and I've got, I don't know, I don't normally count them, but just take a little pinch, 5, 6 strands, and I'm going to fold them over, and I'm going to cut them in half, okay, and I'm going to take one half, and I'm going to sit it on my desk, and we're going to use that later on, and I'm going to take this half, just try and taper them a little bit, just so they're not all the same length. I'm going to come around underneath the thread, pop them on, make sure they're nice and equal. Couple of turns, we're going to hold them back. I just want them on the top. Sweep them back like that. Tie them down. There's a little bit of flash. There we go. Now I'm going to tie in, this is some, it's basically a long flash chenille, just fine flash fibres in between some string, exactly, you know, like polar fibre, like polar chenille, but it's not quite. It's thinner than polar chenille, so it doesn't really build up much bulk. We're going to tie that in, just for longevity. We'll dab a super glue over the threads, so the chenille will literally be glued. And we're just going to run this up fairly quickly, sweep most of this back until I've basically covered up all of my existing thread wraps, and I do one on that bare shank where it thins out, come over with my thread, I'm going to catch it, I'm just going to leave this down there, come around 1, 2, 3, tie in front, just going to trim off the chenille, pop this on my desk. As you can see, I never take it off the cards, things like chenilles and stuff, it just lasts longer. Sweep it all back, come around with the thread, wrap back over it, and there we go. Come up to the bead. The bead keeps slipping down on you, don't worry. It's all going to get pushed up by the rabbit strip. And talking of rabbit strips, just gonna take, this is a Magnum rabbit strip, and I'm just gonna tie that in. Just gonna try and mind these flash fibres. That's better. So I'm going to tie this rabbit strip in, just catch the end of the bit of leather, which is, you know, the skin, come up, and I want to come about halfway to where we're going to start sort of building the shoulders of this little bait fish or whatever. I'm going to come around with the rabbit. Try not to get glue on your fingers. I'm going to come around 1, 2, going to sweep this all back, 3, sweep it all back, come into that 4th turn and catch it. 1, 2, whoops. Just come around, 3. Just take your time, take your time. 4. Going to move the rabbit strip back out the way, tie down in front, and then I'm going to come in with some sharp scissors and get, oh, right down in there, sharp scissors, he says. Now sweep all this rabbit back, catch the end of that little bit of leather or skin, and I'm just going to wrap back on this rabbit just a little bit on the fur, I'm just going to sweep all that back, just like that. That's lovely. And now, if you remember the rest of the Mirage Flashabou that we set down on our desk, we're going to pick that up. Where we've had it on our desk, it's actually tapered the ends for me. And we're going to do exactly the same as we did with the last bit. If the rabbit fur is like misbehaving on you, if you just wet your fingers and smooth it back, it just makes it behave a little bit more. Now we're going to take this over, just like that, catch, 1, 2, pull it back. Just make sure we're right on the top and go in either side of the hook point like that. And there we go. That flashes in. And I'm just gonna shorten these bits like that. There we go, that's better. Just gonna give it a brush. There we go. Sweet, right. There we go. I'm going to bring the thread up. Just tying that all down lovely. Then we're just going to put a little bit of glue on those thread wraps. I mean, you don't need to. It's almost pointless doing the glue of the thread wraps, but I always do when I do predator flies. So, you know, I've not had any fall apart on me so far, so I'll keep going. And now this is some cross-cut rabbit. And we're going to tie this in for the, I was going to say the thorax of the fly, but it's a bait fish. So just sort of the front end of the fly going up to the head. And we're going to, again, tiny little bit of glue. Just sticks the leather down nicely. We're going to come over. Sweep it back, come over, sweep it all back, and we're going to come up all the way to behind that bead with this chartreuse. Whoops, come here. With this chartreuse cross-cut rabbit. This is just a colour combination that a lot of the sort of ponds or small lakes that I fish for the perch are quite muddy, or you know, they've got a few fish in them, like lots of carp and bream, etc. And I find that this colour combination really stands out in that water. So I'm going to trim it, put that back in the packet, sweep it all back, tie down. Nice and tight. Just going to take my brush it all back. Lovely. Okay. And now just to kind of finish the fly off, I'm just going to check round. Yep, that's lovely. Right. I'm just going to put, this is just angel hair. You can use angel hair or you can use, wherever I've put it, ripplized fibre. Does a really good job here. But I've just been using this angel hair because it's, well, to be honest with you, it's cheap, it's easy, and I quite like using it, to be honest with you. So you're going to need a little bit. And as usual, we're just going to, I can do this where you can see, you're going to drop it everywhere, but just pull the fibres out, trying to align them all in the same direction. I'm just going to do the rest of this over the bin because I know it's Christmas time and all that, but really saves my hoovering. So now we're just going to pop this on the top. I'm going to come over with a turn or two. Just going to put one side, one bit one side, the other bit the other side. Going to fold it back. Just swish it all back, smooth it all back. Come round. Just like that. Just going to build the thread up underneath to get it all nice and neat on this bit round here. There we go. Happy with that. Don't worry about that. We're going to fill that up with resin, that gap. And now I'm just going to pop some glue on the thread. I'm going to come round with a whip finish. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull it nice and tight. Come in with the scissors, trim the thread. Okay. Get me brush, toothbrush. Smooth it all back, brush it all out, like that. There we go. And that is basically the fly. And now I'm just going to come in with some super glue, really super glue those threads. Try not to get any on the rabbit. He says as he just gets some on the rabbit. Amazing. So I kind of clean it off the bead as well. It does dry clear that, but there's the fly. So now we're going to come in with some eyes. Eyes, I've used silver eyes on this. I've used gold eyes on this. I'm just going to put some red eyes on this one. To be perfectly honest with you, I think the eyes actually catch more anglers than they do fish. They just look better. Streamers just look better with eyes. I've certainly had pike flies, perch streamers, bass flies. I've certainly had them where the eyes, for whatever reason, have come off. They don't normally come off, but when I first started tying, I wasn't as good at putting the eyes on streamer flies like this. And when they fell off, to be honest with you, I still caught loads of fish with those flies. So what I'm going to do, these are stick-on flat eyes, and I'm just going to put them onto a needle. I'm just going to, a little bit of super glue on the back, like literally a tiny, tiny bit. And we're just going to pop it on. Just do my side first, like that. Just hold it on. Whoops. Just hold it on. Just like that. I'm going to come around, do your side. So again, just pop it on the needle. Tiny bit of super glue on the back of the eye. Using the needle. My finger. Whoops. Pop it on. Just make sure we're nice and straight. Have a look this way. Just need that eye to come up a bit. There we go. That's lovely. And now I'm just going to press on these eyes. I like these stick-on eyes because they're not epoxy eyes. So basically they're literally just like stickers. And they'll mould themselves to flies a lot better, I find. I much prefer using them than like the epoxy eyes. And there we have it. So now it's just a case of a little bit of UV resin. And for that, I'm going to use Gulf Flexman. It's my favourite UV resin. I use it for all sorts of things because it's flexible. It seems to stand up to a lot more. So I'm just going to hold this flash back. If you've got any, there's a funny, I don't know what that is. There's a funny little bit of flash or something here. I don't like it, so I'm just going to cut that away. There we go. Just going to hold this back. I'm just going to drop in some of this Gulf resin in between the eyes. Just like that. Oh, come here. There we go. Hold this all back. Okay, I'm going to come in with the lamp. I'm just going to make sure everything is where you want it, because once you set it, you set it. Like that. Very, very bright. Very powerful torch. That fibre there is really irritating me. And now she's gone. Now I'm going to come underneath, do exactly the same. I'm just going to fill the gap underneath the chartreuse bead. That's it. Set it. Once that's set, have a look. Once you're happy with everything, there we go. Once you're happy with everything, I'm just going to build the top of it up again. Again, this bit's worth just taking your time with. It's definitely worth taking your time with. This lamp is powerful. I do sometimes put my hand over it like that, so I'm not looking directly at that UV lamp, UV bright light. And now I'm just going to put some over the eyes. Come over where you've just been, over all the eyes, underneath. Just come over and under, and then we're just going to roll it's much easier to do with a rotary vise. And when you're happy, we're just going to set it. And there we have it. That is my wiggle tail, dragon tail, whatever you want to call it, perch fly. I don't think these are too difficult to tie. They certainly catch perch, and they're good fun to fish. These tails, there's so much movement in these tails, and this jigged up and down in the water where there are perch will always elicit a take. It will always elicit a take, is that the right word? We'll always get a take off the off the perch. Give it a go if you can find these little wiggle tails. I don't know what I've done with the packet now. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, there's another packet there. So if you can find these from Veniards, get yourself some. They're dead easy to use, and they're great fun. Just remember to burn and glue the end of it so they don't become unravelled. Once again, thank you for watching. If you've liked the video, please hit the like button, and if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. And if you have subscribed to the channel, then thank you very much for doing so, and we'll see you on the next one.